officials exceeded the Bank of Ghana limit in granting loans to politically exposed people, including owner of Engineers and Planners, Ibrahim Mahama. We'll tell you the role ex-President Mahama played in attempts to get his brother to pay back the over 300 million Ghana cedi loan. Also in Kumasi, a police officer's alleged assault of physically challenged man causes outrage.
He came my way, held me and punched me. It landed me against the container shop, injuring my hand.
And there's hope for sickle cell disease patients as doctors at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital carry out the first bone marrow transplant in Ghana.
Because of the too much of crisis and the falling sick all the time, we came from Nigeria. We saw this, but because of it's not easy with us, so we decided to come and do it once and for all, the transplant.
We're live at the hospital as doctors work on a third patient this afternoon. And in sports,
New Crystal Palace signing Jordan Ayew insists he's ready for the challenge as the new English Premier League season begins today.
And later, we'll tell you how Ghana finally joined the craze for renditions of childish Gambinos. This is America Track.
I'm Robusta Gadavin. Did the Kuti make one. Everything here go kill you. If you hear Kolebu run. MPs they give formula. The youth they give formula.
All that and more here on the Midday News with me, MFA Apau. Details shortly. Do stay with us. And now, a leaked audit report on the defunct UT Bank has revealed the financial institutions went against Bank of Ghana rules to give out huge loans to what it describes as publicly or politically exposed people, including Ibrahim Mahama, brother of former President John Dramani Mahama. The report claims companies of the businessman took loans totaling 300 million Ghana cedis from UT Bank, but made no effort to pay. As at May 2016, it says the bank resolved to get John Dramani Mahama, former president, to assist in retrieving the loans. Kojo Youngson has been studying the report and joins me in studio with details. So, Kojo, first, what does the audit report mean? And when it says that the bank went against banking rules to grant loans, explain to us.
Well, MFA, first of all, one of the main reasons why banking laws exist is to minimize risk and protect the deposits of you and I, banking customers. Now, one type of transaction that requires heavy scrutiny is related party transactions. Related party transactions simply refer to transactions where a bank lends money to companies that are related to each other. So, for example, if Joy FM, Love FM, Adom FM, and Multi TV borrowed money from one bank, we would be considered related parties. Okay. Now, banking law says that in these instances, all related parties should be considered as one customer when it comes to determining our single obligor limit. Single obligor simply means how much money you can lend to any single customer. Okay, so the banking law says the bank must calculate single obligor limits per customer, not per transaction.
Okay.
But there were several problems with UT Bank's related party transactions involving several groups of companies. I will start.
Who are these companies?
I'll start with Engineers and Planners.
Okay.
Now, Engineers and Planners had 4 of their related parties borrowing from UT Bank. Jata Cement, Holman Brothers Limited, MBG Limited, and Engineers and Planners Limited. These 4 companies together borrowed a total of 261,414,054 cedis and 47 pesos. They put up some collateral, about 72.3 million Ghana cedis worth of collateral, as well as 287 million Ghana cedis in road contract proceeds. But the problem with this transaction is that the main and controlling shareholder of the group, Mr. Ibrahim Mahama, is what they call a politically exposed person. Now, when it comes to risk management, the bank ought to consider that to be a very high risk because their political position directly affects their ability to repay these loans. I'll tell you a little bit more about the problems that Engineers and Planners and their debt to UT Bank caused. But there were other companies in related party transactions. Excel Courier is another group. That is made up of two companies, Western Investment and Consultancy and Excel Courier. The two companies together had a debt of 30,839,319 cedis and 17 pesos that they owed UT Bank. The main shareholder of this group is Mr. Alexander Afenyo-Markin.
The same Alexander Afenyo-Markin.
That's right, Member of Parliament for, I believe it's Ifutu.
Yeah.
And he is, of course, a politically exposed person. Now, here is the problem with this loan to Alexander Afenyo-Markin's company. The collateral for this 30 million cedi loan is worth less than 1 million cedis, which means the loan was significantly under collateralized, putting the bank at high risk. The final group of companies I will mention is Lushan, made up of Lushan International Energy Limited, Salt Pond Offshore Production Limited, Omicron Energy Limited, and Oxasia Energy Limited. Not forgetting Manitowok Limited. These five companies together borrowed 84,132,002 cedis, not forgetting 50 pesos, from UT Bank.
So in all this, Kojo, what did the bank do to try and get their money back?
Right. Now, especially with engineers and planners, the bank went through a lot of procedures to get this money back. For example, first of all, they requested a waiver of the single obligor limit so that they could lend so much money to one customer. But then, following the lending of the money, they started to try and get the money back. First, they arranged a meeting. The board arranged a meeting between the board, Kofi Jobs and Ibrahim Mahama. Those were the two companies that owed the bank. This meeting came on, and Ibrahim Mahama made several promises of how he was going to clear his debt. But we learned from this report that the board met with Mr. Adi Ayitivi, who is a representative of Mr. Ibrahim Mahama. And they expressed disappointment with Mr. Ibrahim Mahama. The members of the board felt slighted and disrespected by his actions and questioned his credibility as a businessman. This came following several attempts to get Mr. Ibrahim Mahama to meet his obligations and pay his debts. They even requested that a meeting should be arranged between the board chairman, Mr. Prince Amwabing, on one hand, and President Mahama, Mr. Ibrahim Mahama, and Mrs. Mona Quarte on the other hand, to discuss the way forward.
Do we
the
know
minutes of the board's meetings does not tell us whether that particular meeting happened. But what we do know is that the entire debt for a long period of time throughout the years 2014 to 2017, Mr. Ibrahim Mahama did not pay any of those agreed debts until in 2016, Mr. Ibrahim Mahama requested that an APG be granted, an APG, of course, being an advanced payment guarantee. So he was expecting some money to be paid into the bank for some work he had done for government, and he used that as a guarantee to clear off some of his
But
debt.
just before I let you off, Kojo, according to the document we have, I know that Beige is also mentioned in here. What did they also do?
Now, UT Bank reportedly violated a very important banking law.
And by the way, that's the defunct Beige Capital.
That's right.
Is it the same?
Beige Bank. Yes. Now, at that time, it was Beige Capital Savings and Loans. On 27th October 2014, UT Bank reported a US dollar investment placed with Beige Capital Savings and Loans. The total value was in US dollars, I believe, $5 million US dollars. The problem here is that as a savings and loans company, by statute, they are not allowed to deal in foreign currency. That's Beige Savings and Loans. So they put the bank's funds at risk. Bank of Ghana kept insisting that UT Bank retrieve that investment from Beige, but they were unable to do so. And later it was discovered by this audit company, Boulders Advisors Limited, that, well, Beige Capital had actually used this money to lend on to one of Ibrahim Mahama's companies, Holman Brothers. Okay. By doing this, first of all, they exceeded the single obligor limit. But more importantly, since Ibrahim Mahama's Holman Brothers did not pay back the debt, Beige Savings and Loans were unable to repay the $5 million to UT Bank, so they forfeited that money.
Interesting. Of course, we'll get more details of this document in our subsequent bulletins. But one company that was mentioned in the audit report who have received some monies from Capital Bank, that's Commerce Savings and Loans, has issued a statement. And Joy Business editor George Wiafe joins us in the studio with details of that. What is the company saying, George?
So the company that is Commerce Savings and Loans is acting through their solicitors, that is CJ Plus Attorneys, and they are trying to draw the attention that, and I read if our client's attention has been drawn to several publications making rounds on your media platforms that Mr. Atuasian, founder of Exor Capital Bank, is linked to and invested in several businesses, including Commerce Savings and Loans. Attention to the state emphatically that Commerce Savings and Loans has no link whatever to Mr. Atuasian, and that is the bank. They are saying that our client wishes to say categorically that Mr. Atuasian is not and has never been related party to Commerce Savings and Loans. At no point during the exercise of commerce has Mr. Atuasian held any interest whatever in the company. So they are trying to say that they just facilitated as the bank acted as a clearinghouse for them, and Atuasian has no direct interest in that savings and loans company, and is issued on behalf of their lawyers, CJ Plus Attorneys.
George Wiafe there with that statement from Commerce Savings and Loans. Of course, there is more in these documents that we're bringing you in our subsequent bulletins. Now, let's head to the Ashanti region because residents of Kumasi have expressed anger following alleged police brutal assault of a physically challenged person. Lance Corporal Emmanuel Jimfi allegedly beat up 42-year-old David Ayembe after he questioned why the police officer gave warning shots as he attempted to disperse a group of individuals who were pleading for a driver being assaulted by the officer. Nanaya Ojima visited David Ayembe and filed this report.
The
42-year-old man is nursing a fractured wrist following attack by Emmanuel Jemfi, popularly known as Mosquito, of the Central Police Station Command. He sits in his veranda with a pair of crutches resting on his laps. With a bandaged arm to support the pair of crutches, he has sought medical treatment from a local orthopedic specialist. The fracture he suffered from the alleged assault by the policeman has rendered him further incapacitated. David says the policeman had fired his AK-47 rifle into the air at a washing bay when some individuals tried to plead for a driver he was abusing for unknown reasons. He says he was drawn by the sound of gunshots to find out what it was, only to be assaulted by the policeman he alleges was drunk at the time.
So he came to where I stood, and then I asked him why he is doing that. I told him the gun isn't supposed to be used in such a manner. He can kill someone. He came my way, held me and punched me. It landed me against the container shop, injuring my hand. As you can see, I wear prosthetic in one leg, so I am not very healthy to fight a drunk police officer.
King David alleges he was thrown out of the charge office at the Central Police Station when he made attempts to file a report against his abuser. He had followed a police patrol team which came to the scene to pick up the policeman.
When I followed the patrol team to the Central Police Station, they wouldn't listen to me. I tried to lodge an official complaint, but they told me I would not be allowed to lodge a complaint against their colleague. They came for my name and contact for him. I saw them lock him up in cells.
The news team continued to the Opoku Sika washing bay at Asafo, where the shooting and assault were confirmed by people who claim to have witnessed the incident. They will, however, not speak on record for fear of being victimized. A concerned resident tells me he did not witness the most recent shooting incident, but maintains it is not the first time the policeman has exhibited such behavior. Inusa Abad says reports on previous shooting incidents went without any known action.
I have led residents to report him to the previous regional commanders, but nothing has come of it. We are fed up of reporting him to the command. My only worry is that one day he might kill someone because he mostly does that out of drunkenness.
Police say the policeman was arrested, detained and later granted bail, while the matter has been referred to the Criminal Investigation Department at the Central Police Station. Nanea Ojima reporting.
We'll see what becomes of that case. Let's stay a while longer in Kumasi because President Akufo-Addo has promised the completion of the over 40-year-old maternity block at the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital. Work on the 996 capacity mother and child block has stalled as successive governments failed to complete the project. President Akufo-Addo tells the Asante-Hene he wants to make a mark for himself by completing the abandoned project. The president, who also gave the assurance, is promising the Ashanti region of its fair share of development on day one of a 4-day working visit in the Ashanti region. Will join my colleague Ohim Interior as and when we are able to raise him. This is the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, government has dismissed concerns by teachers that their 1 billion cedi pension funds are being mishandled, insisting the funds are being invested appropriately. NAGRAT, at a media briefing yesterday, threatened it will call a strike unless government immediately transfers its Tier 2 pension to the GES for management in accordance with the law. But Deputy Minister for Employment and Labour Relations, Bright Rekubrobe, tells Joy News government is working with the teacher unions to amicably resolve their concerns.
Yes, my minister has given the fullest assurance. He has asked me to immediately even convene the stakeholders involved, and we are in talks with them. This is not a strikeable matter. We will ensure that what they are looking for is that their monies are transferred. They are not saying their investments are shortchanged. No, that's not the issue. It's just a transfer. Once they resolve the internal matters within their trust board, this money will be transferred to them.
Is it the case that government is probably holding on to the money because it maybe has other use for it?
It is not even money. Why is it? They are in instruments. It's not money. You know, government has, together with all the members of the unions, not only education, we sat down, went through, we advised, we got the amount of money transferred into instruments, and these are, invested on their behalf. So once they turn out 91-day treasury bill or so, then it's rolled on, or it depends on how the unions and their fund managers decide, how to go about it.
So the other concern is that it may not be yielding the necessary interest because they are not managing it themselves.
That assertion is not correct. The monies are invested. It was agreed upon. We had bonds. Some of them were put in bonds.
You heard the Deputy Minister for Employment and Labour Relations, Bright Rekubrobe, in that interview with my colleague Joseph Opoku Gakbo. The Minister for Monitoring and Evaluation, Anthony Akotose, says President Akufo-Addo's reshuffle is not based on the ministry assessment of the ministers. President Akufo-Addo yesterday made 15 changes to his ministers and deputies. Here's a news desk report on some of the key changes. When he was asked to act as energy minister after Boakye Jaku was sacked, it came as no surprise to many because of his previous civil society experience in the field. But his days of acting ends as President Akufo-Addo gives him the green light to man the energy ministry in the wake of the Ameri debacle. John Peter Amewu seems poised.
This particular bill, knowing the benefit and the interest of this country, so they were able to have their way. And so we will definitely have to interrogate, examine, and see what will be more beneficial to the owners of the resources.
Some see his move from the Information Ministry to the Inner City and Zongo Development Ministry as a demotion. But does Dr. Mustafa Hamid agree?
If I had been taken out of the cabinet, perhaps you would say that I've been demoted. But I have been given a higher calling in my view, because there's no better service than service to your people.
There were two definite promotions. Deputy Bono Ahafo Regional Minister Evans Opoku Bobie becomes the substantive minister for the region, whilst Deputy Information Minister and former Super Morning Show host Kojo Ponkroma takes over from his boss, Dr. Mustafa Hamid.
In the last 1 year, under the leadership of Dr. Hamid, we developed a strategic plan. As I take over, I would simply be following that program and working to deepen the exercise of getting government's information out there and on time.
Bono Ahafo Regional Minister Kweku Asumatremi is now Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources Kofi Ada, who many had predicted will be sacked, is now Minister for Aviation, with Cecilia Abinadapa replacing him. Paulina Tangoba Abayage, former ambassador to Italy, is now Upper East Regional Minister Designate. Pius Enam Hajide, Deputy Minister for Youth and Sports, who was recently reinstated after a brief suspension, is now Deputy Information Minister, while Perry Curtis Okujeto moves from the Information Ministry to the Sports Ministry. As deputy, there's a new face. Mrs. Cynthia Morrison, who is also member of Parliament for Aguna West constituency, says she is ready as she replaces Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Otiko Afisa Jaba, who is now Ghana's ambassador to Italy.
I'm thinking of adoption, I'm thinking of the elderly, and I'm thinking of the physically challenged. The foster homes that have been closed down. How do we keep juvenile and adults in the same cell?
Boniface Abubakar Sadiq gets a new role as Minister of State at the Office of the Vice President. Now, Minister for Monitoring and Evaluation Anthony Akotose is known to have been assessing the performance of his colleagues. My colleague Manasseh Azuria Winnie first asked him whether the reshuffle was based on the evaluation done by his ministry.
It is difficult to tell because I'm not privy to the president's reasons for doing the reshuffle. The president himself, if you remember, had done evaluation of all ministers. The evaluations I sent to cabinet do not purport to really deal with how best the minister is performing, but just to check to see if the results that we expect are coming through. So I cannot tell. I'm not privy to the reasons the president used to make the changes.
You heard the Minister for Monitoring and Evaluation, Anthony Akotose. Let's take a brief assessment of the reshuffle as was done by the President yesterday. And Professor Ransford Jampo joins us on the line to help us do that. Thank you very much for your time here on the Midday News. So 15 changes, size increased though by just one, and no sacking. Was that what you were expecting? Hello, Prof. Hello, Professor Jampo. Thank you very much for your time here on the Midday News. So I was asking your impressions of yesterday's reshuffle.
All right. Let's commend the president for keeping his ministers on for this long. I think this is the first time the president has kept the reshuffle to his chest for quite long. Oftentimes when reshuffles come so quickly, it doesn't allow ministers the ample time to be able to work, and it also does not allow the president the time to study and determine who must be reshuffled, who must be made to stay, and who must also not be made to stay. And so I think he's done well. It's taken a long time. I thought it was going to happen right from January and all that. And so he's been able to save ministers from much anxiety and tension, and they've been able to work to the point that the president knows that, well, you can go here and then you can go there. My little issue is that the president seemed to have departed from the laudable initiative that he introduced in hiring or recruiting or appointing the ministers. You recall that in appointing each minister, he touted their credentials and pedigree and explained why he was hiring them in a manner that made all the people or Ghanaians develop much confidence in them. But
there were not much of a new entrants in there. We had just about two of them. You expected that he would go through the whole process again. But let's talk about the size, the increase, though it's just by one and no one was sacked. Is that what you were expecting also?
The size, you're talking about the size?
I'm talking about the size.
Well, I mean, one thing that I regret is the fact that I was thinking the president was going to pay attention or heed to the calls from all angles that we would have to reduce the size of government. But unfortunately, it didn't happen, and I quite do not really understand. I think it undermines the idea of efficiency.
Professor Ransford Jampo there, we're grateful for your time. Still to come here on the Midday News, we'll tell you how Ghana finally joined the craze for renditions of Childish Gambino's This Is America track.
I'm Robusta Gadavin, did the Kotimic one. Everything here go kill you. If you hear Kolebu run, MPs they give formula, the youth they give formula.
That is the sweet sound of excellence. That is the sound from Mack. Yes, Mack Ghana is the #1 distributor of the world's best quality Isuzu and Chevrolet vehicles in Ghana. Isuzu trucks from 1.5 tons to heavy-duty vehicles. Isuzu buses from 15 to 33 seaters, double and single cabin pickup, available in automatic and manual transmissions. We also stock a wide range of Chevy cars from SUVs, sedans, and small cars, fully loaded with exquisite specifications. All our range of vehicle stand out due to its high fuel efficiency, safety, luxury, spacious interior, world-class delivery, and after-sales servicing. What's more, we offer flexible payment terms to meet your pockets. Mark Ghana is a sole distributor for Isuzu trucks and pickups, as well as all range of Chevrolet cars in Ghana. Call us on 0302-813-919 in Accra or 0242-039-550 in Kumasi. Visit our website at markghana.com. Mark Ghana, with you for the long run.
Benedict Owusu is in the studios with the latest from the world of sports.
Yes, MFA, you know the English Premier League season is starting later tonight with Manchester United up against Leicester City. But Ghana international Jordan Ayew has stated he chose Crystal Palace to continue improving his professional career. Jordan, yesterday on transfer deadline day, sealed a season-long move to Crystal Palace from Swansea City. He says he's ready for the challenge.
I'm very, very pleased to be here. It's been a long transfer window, but finally I got it. I got to make the move, and I thank God. Yeah, I'm looking forward to play with the boys, and looking forward to meet the fans as well, and just have a good season this season.
Last season you won Players' Player of the Season at Swansea, top goal scorer. So you come into this season with a lot of confidence.
No, I'm coming this season because it's a good option for me.
Jordan Ayew actually is expected to be in Hudson's team as they go away to play Fulham tomorrow. And a lot to look forward to this weekend. Black Princess in action, also Black Starlight, and then the English Premier League. That's your sports.
Have a good weekend, Benedict Owusu. Now, let's do some health-related stories, of course, from sickling statuses to sickle cell negative patients. That's a story of two children who have undergone a successful first-ever bone marrow transplant procedure in Ghana. The bone marrow transplant is a procedure that replaces the unhealthy blood-forming cells in sickle cell disease patients with healthy ones. Joy News' Matilda Vemega caught up with a mother whose two children have been given a life-changing operation from SS to now AS, and she joins us in the studios. What was her experience?
So for this mother, she was so excited about the fact that they won't be experiencing this crisis. The crisis is what they term the pain that these severe sickle cell disease patients go through over the period. So she's happy that she's not going to go through that again, because the first procedure, let me take you to the first procedure, was done somewhere in July. The second was done 2 days ago on a young Nigerian
boy. And we are told the third one will happen today?
It's still happening.
Okay.
They've started the first phase of it, which they are extracting bone marrow from the mom's hip bone, then later will be transfused into the young boy. So later
that's some good news there. I'm sure Matilda will bring us details later. And it's a good time to take a dance. We're told about the Ghanaian rendition of the Childish Gambino titled This Is America. We have This Is Ghana.
As if it was planned, in the lead up to the Nigerian Democracy Day celebrations on May 29, rapper, actor and lawyer Fowles released a new music video. This is Nigeria.
This is Nigeria. Whether Madam Philomena, money vanish for your office, 36 million, you tossing an animal.
His song in pidgin English with an exaggerated Yoruba accent.
When looters and killers and stealers are still contesting election.
The song delivers an important piece of social commentary, often with dark humor, to highlight many of the worst socio-economic issues in today's Nigeria, particularly for the country's leaders.
This is Nigeria. No electricity daily.
Of course, we'll get the full report. This is Ghana. I'm sure we'll get many more renditions. It's time now to check out what's trending on social media maps.
Well, Shatta Wale is trending after dropping visuals for his much talked about Freestyle Parade single. And this one is from Edwan Kito, who says, at Shatta Wale GH is a magician when it comes to releasing bangers. And this one is at Denny Fritz, who says the only person who can argue with 5 men about Shatta Wale being the dance hall king, his love for the empire is overwhelming. And that's all from social media.
And that's it for this week's edition of the Midday News on Joy 99.7 FM. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I am MFR Pau. Thanks for your company.
New phone, new TV. Why? New job, Anna?
Same double.